Chapter 3. Megan intended to play cards for a while, but she had dozed off instead. She woke with her visitor shaking her by the shoulder.
Megan? Megan? Are you awake? Yeah.
She replied, immediately sitting up.
What's wrong? Nothing. Just hungry.
Megan wasn't sure how long she'd slept, but the room was now dark, only lit by the fireplace and its flickering flames. Through the window, she could see it was also dark outside.
Okay.
Megan yawned and sluggishly rose to her feet.
Let's get you something to eat.
Megan lit a candle and went back to the kitchen, returning with 2 ceramic bowls and 2 silver spoons, setting them on the table. She dripped a few dots of wax on the tabletop, then anchored the candle in the wax.
You set the table and I'll get supper.
As they ate, facing each other at the table, Megan watched as Allison took her first bite of stew. The girl grimaced. After a glance at Megan, she returned to eating. Megan's heart sank in her chest. Allison didn't like it. Megan stared at her own bowl for a long moment. Maybe she was right. This really wasn't any good. It was more like onion broth than rabbit stew. Starting tomorrow, Megan would have to try harder to find food.
Is that the only candle you have?
Allison asked.
No, I have a bunch in a box in my parents' room, but I'm worried about running out this winter. I don't have any way to make more. I need to ration them.
Now embarrassed, Megan sipped at her broth without making eye contact with Allison. The girl was also used to having more light inside her house. She's going to hate living with Megan.
Why don't you trade for more candles? Trade with who? There's a trading post north of here. You talk to the guy, tell him what you want, tell him what you have, and somehow you work out a deal. I don't really know, though. I spent enough time there, but most of my time was spent playing with the owner's baby and all his cats.
And that was immediately out of the question for Megan. People. That was the problem. She was terrified of them. Her mother warned her to stay clear of them. Changing the subject, Megan took another sip and asked one of the many questions she had for her guest.
How old are you, Allison? Don't know. How old are you? I don't know either, but I think I'm 17. You have any guess at your age? You look like you're 10 to me.
Allison shrugged as she took a large drink of broth from her bowl. After wiping her lips, she replied,
This woman at the trading post told me you start getting boobs when you go through puberty, and that's when you also get hair. Oh, and your first period. Since I have all 3 going for me, I must be at least 12 or 13. I'm practically an adult. I could be your age.
Megan smirked.
You were born with hair, dummy.
Allison pointed a finger downward, directly at her crotch.
I meant hair down there. Oh.
Megan's face burned in embarrassment.
Okay. Since you're smaller than me, you must be younger. Let's say you're 12. Maybe I'm just short. Maybe I'm older than I look. Maybe you're tall for your age.
When Megan couldn't come up with a reasonable reply, Allison shrugged again.
Works for me. I'm 12 and you're 17 then.
She pushed her bowl aside and leaned forward on her elbows, resting her face in her hands.
Where were you born? Here in this house. Do you know your birthday? No. It's in the spring. That's all I know. Do you know yours? No. Wish I did. Mom was supposed to give me a present for my birthday, but something happened before she did. I can't remember what time of year that was. I'm pretty sure it was the winter, though. It was snowing that day. She's not here, your mom?
Megan shook her head.
Where are your parents, then?
After drawing a deep breath, Megan twisted her lips back and forth, wondering how much she could say without erupting into tears. She decided to tell Allison what happened. She liked talking to her. She wanted to keep talking to her. She could do this without crying.
Dad died when I was small. Pneumonia, Mom called it. And your mom? A couple years back, I think it was 2 years ago, she disappeared while I was out hunting. When I came home, the door was standing open and
tears sprang to her eyes. She vividly recalled that day. That memory was constantly being replayed in her mind, even in her dreams. She and her mother had always been close, except that morning, Megan's birthday. They argued about something that she no longer recalled. Megan dressed, ran out of the house, and slammed the door shut behind her. When she came home, she knew her mother was long gone. Everything was exactly the way it should have been, except one thing. The smashed coffee mug on the floor. The only cup her mother ever used. She must have been angrier than Megan had ever seen her to smash her favorite mug. Pissed off. So mad she'd had enough. Her mom had no idea how many nights Megan cried herself to sleep since that day, but that number was easily in the hundreds. Every night, praying she'd forgive her daughter and come home. Megan wished she could take back everything said that morning and instead tell her mom she loved her.
She never came home?
Allison asked. Megan wiped her eyes and shook her head.
Sorry. That's sad. I miss my mom too. My real one. Do you think the nomads took her? No. For as long as we've lived here, we've never even seen another person. Not once. Other than my mom and dad, you're the only person I've ever met. I'm sure she's still out there somewhere.
Again, Megan smeared the tears from her eyes and shook her head.
Mom left because she thought I was mad at her. I wasn't honest. At least, I think that's why. I don't really know. I just know it was my fault. Moms don't do that. Run away, I mean. Only daughters do things like that. Trust me, I would know. Did you ever consider your mom might have gotten lost?
A sob choked out of Megan. She dropped her spoon and ran over to the fireplace, falling to her knees and covering her eyes with her hands. She must not cry. She promised herself she wouldn't do that anymore. Allison sat down beside her.
Why don't we go looking for her? I don't have parents anymore either. We could do this together. If she's not home by now, she's never coming home. She hates me for whatever I said that morning. Don't say that, Megan. She's your mom. She loves you. You have to believe she's out there somewhere and can't get home. We must find her.
Perhaps the girl was right. Maybe Megan's mom went looking for her that day. Maybe she did get lost. Maybe she was heartbroken because she'd lost her only daughter. Megan had always prayed for just one chance to talk to her again, to apologize, to say how much she loved and missed her. Maybe this was it. After sucking in a deep breath to compose herself, Megan wiped her eyes.
Where would we even begin to look? If she could be anywhere. We were going south, toward the big cities. I was told most of them were abandoned ages ago, but there are still mountains of food and supplies there. Don't you think if your mom got lost, she might end up in a place like that? A big city?
Allison nodded.
But there's no people in cities right now, right? That's what the man said.
Allison smiled.
Oh, and the ones we were looking for were way, way south of here. Where it's so sunny and warm it can't snow. After we find your mom, maybe we can find a nicer place to live. All three of us. Wouldn't you like that?
That did sound appealing. Megan didn't care where she lived as long as she had her mother back. If she really was out there somewhere, Megan assured herself there wasn't any hardship she wouldn't endure to find her. But it was also a very practical plan. Food was running low. Winter was on its way. If she didn't leave the cabin soon, she may never leave it at all.
You would go with me?
Allison nodded.
Why? She's not your mother. Right now, I'd be happy having anyone's mom to be my parent. Without an adult around, there's only one place girls like us end up. Trust me, I would know. And you wouldn't like it. If your mom's been gone for as long as you say, I'm surprised you're still here living by yourself. I agree. It's dangerous out there. 2 girls going anywhere alone is a bad idea. Are you sure there's no nomads in these big cities to the south? We didn't think so. Probably not.
Megan sighed.
I need to sleep on this. I can't make a decision like that right now. I just can't. I understand. How about we talk about it in the morning? Okay.
Allison stood.
I think I'm going back to bed. Too much happened to me for one day. Okay. You coming to bed too?
Megan liked the idea, but there was her other issue. She didn't like to be touched. After a quick moment of thought, she decided she could make it work. She'd have Allison sleep as close to the wall as possible and put a buffer of blankets in between their bodies.
Okay. I'll read you a story before bed. You get in and get comfortable.
As Allison darted off, Megan tossed one more log on the fire, then stepped up to her father's bookshelf. It was crammed full of books, floor to ceiling. Most of them were useless, most without pictures, but there was one she liked. Where was it? After pulling out different books, glancing at them and returning them, she found it on the top shelf. It was a blue cover with a cartoon cat wearing a red and white striped top hat. She used to enjoy all the illustrations inside. She would start at the beginning, study them all, one page at a time, trying to understand all their meanings. Then she'd do it again. She loved it. She was sure Allison would love it too. Megan snatched the candle off the table and ran over to the bed. Allison was already covered up to her neck, patiently waiting for her story. After anchoring the candle to a bedpost with drops of wax, Megan sat down on her knees and cleared her throat.
Okay.
She showed the cover to Allison.
This is a story called The Naughty Kitty.
When Allison grimaced, Megan shook her head at her.
Don't worry. You'll like this.
The first page was a little boy and girl looking out their living room window. It was raining and windy outside. She showed the picture to Allison as she began the story.
Okay, once upon a time, there was a brother and a sister who couldn't go out to play because it was storming outside. A very horrible rainstorm, as you can see. Their dad was off hunting and their mom was down at the river fishing. Their parents could be gone all day, they said. There was nothing for them to do. You can't read, can you?
Sitting upright, Megan eyed her new friend, now embarrassed that the girl picked up on it right away.
No. That book is called The Cat in the Hat. That says, "The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play, so we sat in the house all that cold, cold day." Want me to teach you how to read? I don't need to, I suppose. I got along fine all this time without it. You'll only be wasting your time.
After sliding the book under the bed, Megan waved Allison toward the wall.
Move over.
After Allison moved aside, Megan pulled 2 blankets off of her, rolled one up, and placed it beside her, then climbed into bed and covered herself with the other. Without missing a beat, Allison promptly pulled the blanket out from between them and inched closer to Megan. As soon as their bodies touched, Megan jumped out of bed.
What are you doing? It's cold outside. I was trying to snuggle up with you to stay warm. Is that a problem? Oh. I guess not. It's just that I don't like people touching me.
Allison grimaced.
You've slept with someone before, haven't you? No, never. I can't tell you how many times I have, and you're older than...
She grimaced again.
Wait, are you serious? No touching at all? No hugs or kisses, none ever?
Megan shook her head. Not that she could remember, at least. Bouncing her body back to the wall, Allison gave Megan plenty of space to lie down again.
If we're going to sleep together, sooner or later our bodies will touch. That's a fact. Since it won't be on purpose, I'll apologize now. Sorry, Megan. I'll try not to make a big deal out of it.
Megan climbed back into bed, placed the blanket between their bodies, and covered herself again. How would she make it through the night sleeping with another person in her bed? Allison was right about that too. Sooner or later, their bodies would touch. What if Megan awoke with Allison on top of her sleeping soundly? Maybe it would be better to sleep on the floor where that couldn't happen.
Blow out that candle, Megan.
Doing as her new friend asked, Megan blew out the candle. Megan decided she'd try this new sleeping arrangement for one night. One. If it didn't work out, she'd sleep on the floor tomorrow.
Night, Megan. Good night, Allison.
I'm gonna take my troubles on the highest hill, up on a mountain, 'cause I've had my fill. I'm gonna take my troubles and let them roll, roll, roll down that slope that's inclined to free my soul. I'm gonna let it roll, 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 gonna let it roll. I'm gonna let it roll, roll, roll away from me. Gonna let it roll, roll, roll and leave me be. Gotta let it roll, roll, roll to set me free. I'm gonna bring my heartaches out on a boat, drop them in the ocean